Kyung-ho Park stood in the center of the Great Hall, watching three alien species argue over mining rights. The Zephyrians waved their blue tentacles in anger. The Korthak delegation stamped their heavy feet on the metal floor. The insect-like HFY clicked and buzzed in their strange language. All of them were shouting at once. "Enough," Kyung-ho said quietly. The room fell silent. Every alien in the hall turned to look at the human diplomat. He was not tall or strong-looking. His black hair was starting to turn gray. He wore simple clothes, not the fancy robes of other council members. But when Kyung-ho Park spoke, everyone listened. "We have been here for 6 hours," Kyung-ho said. "You all want the same thing. You all need the rare metals from the Outer Rim. But instead of working together, you fight like children." Ambassador Velthar of the Zephyrians made a wet, angry sound. "The humans always think they know better," he said. "Why should we listen to a species that has only been in space for 300 years? Some of the younger aliens nodded. They had heard this complaint before. Humans were new to the galaxy, yet they always ended up making the big decisions. It did not seem fair. Kyung-ho smiled. It was a sad smile. "Because we remember what happens when people don't listen," he said. He walked to the big screen on the wall and touched it. A map of the galaxy appeared. The Hegemony War 60 years ago. The Zephyrian-Korthak Trade War 40 years ago. The HFY expansion crisis 20 years ago. Who stopped the fighting every time? "Humans," muttered General Krikstal from the back of the room. The big, lizard-like creature did not look happy about it. "Yes, humans." Kyung-ho touched the screen again. The map showed trade routes like bright lines connecting thousands of worlds. "And who keeps the peace now? Who makes sure your ships can travel safely? Who stops the pirates and settles the arguments?" "Humans," said several voices at once. Kyung-ho nodded. "So maybe, just maybe, you should trust us when we say there is enough metal for everyone. The Outer Rim has 5 planets rich in rare metals. The Zephyrians can mine Planet 1 and 2. The Korthak can take Planet 3 and 4. The HFY get Planet 5. Everyone wins." Ambassador Velthar's tentacles twisted with doubt. "And what do humans get?" "What we always get," Kyung-ho said. "Peace." The three species looked at each other. Slowly, they began to nod. It was a good deal. Fair. Simple. Like most human solutions. Later, as the aliens signed their agreements, So-Min Lee joined Kyung-ho at the big windows. The human military officer watched ships come and go from the space station. Her uniform was neat and clean. But Kyung-ho could see the weapons she carried. So-Min was always ready for trouble. "Another successful day of babysitting," So-Min said with a small laugh. "They are not babies," Kyung-ho replied. "They are scared." "Scared? Of what?" Kyung-ho pointed at the ships outside. Hundreds of different designs from dozens of species, all traveling together in peace. "Of losing this. The galaxy has been at peace for so long that most of them have never seen real war. They don't know how bad things can get." "Maybe that's good," So-Min said. "Maybe. Or maybe it makes them stupid." Across the hall, Ambassador Velthar was talking quietly with other alien diplomats. Kyung-ho watched them with worried eyes. He had seen that look before, the look of people who thought they were smarter than everyone else. "Sir," said a young voice behind them. Tae-Jun Kim, a human scientist, walked up with a datapad in his hands. "The technology exchange program is ready. The Zephyrians want our water cleaning systems, the Korthak want our farming machines, the HFY want our medical scanners," So-Min finished. "Same as always. Everyone wants human technology." "Because it works better," Tae-Jun said proudly. "Human science finds ways to solve problems that other species can't." Kyung-ho frowned. "And that makes them angry." "Why?" Tae-Jun asked. "We share everything freely. We don't ask for payment, we just want to help." "Some people hate being helped," So-Min explained. "It makes them feel small," as if he had heard them talking. Ambassador Velthar looked their way. His big black eyes were full of anger. He whispered something to the other aliens, and they all looked at the humans too. "We might have a problem," Somin said quietly. Kyung-ho nodded. "I know. I've been watching him for months. Velthar thinks humans have too much power in the council." "Do we?" "We have exactly as much power as we need to keep the peace. No more, no less." In another part of the station, General Krikstal was meeting with military officers from several species. They stood around a table covered with star maps and battle plans. "The humans are weak," Krikstal said. "They have small fleets. Their soldiers are not very strong. They win fights by talking, not fighting." "Then why does everyone fear them?" asked Admiral Voska. Krikstal made a sound like angry laughter. "Fear? The only thing to fear is a story, an old myth that our grandparents told us. Never betray the humans," they said. "Remember what happened to the Draktar Empire. What did happen to them? Nothing. They destroyed themselves in a civil war 300 years ago, before humans even left their home planet. But somehow the story became about humans. Stupid superstition." The other officers nodded. They were young. They had never heard the real stories from the few who remembered. Far away, in the deep archives of the station, an ancient creature called Thexmore read old files. Thexmore had lived for over 400 years. He remembered things that others had forgotten. Things that perhaps should not be forgotten. He found the file he was looking for. The real story of the Draktar Empire, the true reason for the old rule. His old hand shook as he read the words again. The Draktar Empire had been the strongest military force in the galaxy. They had ruled over 30 systems and commanded fleets of warships. They thought they were unbeatable. Then they met the humans. The war lasted exactly 43 days. When it was over, the Draktar Empire was gone. Not just defeated. Gone. Their planets were empty. Their fleets were scattered metal in space. Not a single Draktar was left alive. The humans had done this. Not the peaceful diplomats that everyone knew now. Different humans. Harder humans. Humans who had not yet learned to be gentle. Thexmore closed the file and sat in the dark. He could feel it happening again. The younger species were getting restless. They were starting to forget why the old rule existed. Maybe he should warn someone. Maybe he should remind them what happens when you break the oldest rule in the galaxy. But who would listen to an old creature talking about ancient history? Outside his window, the peaceful ships continued their journeys through space, carrying goods and people between the stars. The galaxy was calm and safe. For now. Ji-hoon Choi sat in his small office, staring at strange numbers on his screen. As a human intelligence officer, his job was to watch for signs of trouble in the galaxy. Usually, his work was boring. Pirates, smugglers, small conflicts between trading companies, nothing serious. But these numbers were different. "Computer, show me communication patterns for the last month," he said. The screen filled with lines of light connecting different star systems. Most of the lines were normal. Trade messages, family calls, news reports. But some lines pulsed with a different color. Secret messages. Encrypted signals that tried to hide what they were saying. Ji-hoon had been tracking these secret messages for weeks. They were coming from Zephyrian space, Korthak systems, and Hivari colonies, all going to the same place. A meeting point in neutral space. "Strange," he muttered. "Why would these species suddenly start talking to each other in secret?" He pulled up more data. Ship movements, energy signatures, supply orders. The pattern was becoming clear and it worried him. Someone was building something. Something big. 3,000 light-years away, on the frontier world of New Busan, Hyejin Song was having her own problems. The human colony administrator stood on her office balcony, watching alien warships move past their planet. "That's the third Korthak fleet this week," said her assistant, a young man named Dae-ho. Hyejin nodded. "And the second Zephyrian battle, group yesterday, plus those Hivari scout ships that keep getting lost near our outer settlements. Maybe they're just doing training exercises?" "In human space?" Without asking permission first? Hyojin shook her head. No, something is wrong. She had sent reports to Earth Command, but they told her not to worry. The alien species were allies. They had treaties. They would never threaten human colonies. But Hyojin had lived on the frontier for 10 years. She knew the difference between normal military movements and something more dangerous. This felt like the calm before a storm. Back at the council station, Ambassador Velthar was holding a secret meeting in his private rooms. 5 other aliens sat around his table. They represented some of the most powerful species in the galaxy. The humans think they are so clever, Velthar said, his tentacles moving with excitement. They sit in their council seats and make decisions, for all of us. They decide who can trade where. They decide who wins arguments. They decide everything. And we let them, growled Admiral Voska. The fierce warrior had scars from old battles covering her arms. My people have been fighting for thousands of years. Why should we take orders from a species that has barely left their homeworld? Because of fear, said Commander Thek, a small but smart alien from the mining guild. Everyone is afraid of the old stories. Don't anger the humans, don't betray the humans. But those stories are from 300 years ago. These humans are not the same. Velthar brought up images on his wall screen, pictures of human diplomats, scientists, and peacekeepers. Look at them, they are soft, weak. They solve problems by talking and making everyone happy. They have forgotten how to be warriors. What do you suggest? Asked General Braktor. We remove them, Velthar said simply. We show the galaxy that humans are not special. We prove that the old stories are just myths. Then we can rule ourselves without their interference. How? Velthar smiled. It was not a nice smile. We make them look like the villains. We create evidence that humans are planning to destroy alien colonies. We make it look like they want to take over the galaxy for themselves. Then the Council will have no choice but to remove them. The other aliens looked at each other. It was a dangerous plan. But the idea of freedom from human control was tempting. What about the old warnings? Commander Thek asked quietly. What if the stories are true? Then we will deal with the consequences, Velthar said. But I believe we are worrying about ghosts and shadows. The real threat is human control over our future. Meanwhile, in the deepest parts of the station, old Thexmore was trying to get someone to listen to his warnings. He had requested meetings with council leaders, military commanders, anyone who might take his concerns seriously. Most of them were too busy. The few who agreed to see him treated him like a foolish old creature talking about fairy tales. Council. Leader Gorth, Thexmore wheezed, standing in the leader's fancy office. You must understand the danger. The younger species are planning something. I can feel it in the air. Gorth was a large, round alien with purple skin and kind eyes. He had been council leader for 20 years and thought he knew everything about galactic politics. Thexmore, my old friend, Gorth said gently. You worry too much. Yes, some species complain about human influence, but they always complain. It means nothing. The galaxy is at peace. Peace built on respect for human power, Thexmore insisted. If that respect disappears, then we will handle the problems as they come. We always have. Thexmore left the meeting feeling more worried than before. Gorth was a good leader, but he had never seen real war. He did not understand how quickly peace could turn into chaos. Back in his intelligence office, Jihoon was making a discovery that made his blood run cold. He had finally broken the encryption on some of the secret messages. The words he read on his screen made him stand up so fast that he knocked over his chair. Operation Clean Slate, he whispered, reading the decoded text. Phase 1, evidence preparation. Phase 2, false flag attack. Phase 3, council resolution. His hand shook as he read more details. The conspirators had been planning this for months. They had built fake evidence that made it look like humans were planning to attack alien colonies. They had prepared witnesses who would swear they saw human military units doing terrible things, and they were almost ready to begin. Jihoon grabbed his communication device and tried to call his superiors on Earth. But the message came back with an error. Communication blocked. He tried again with a different route, same error. Someone was jamming human communications. Computer emergency protocol, he said. Send warning to all human facilities. Priority Alpha. Unable to comply, the computer replied. Communication systems are experiencing technical difficulties. Ji-hoon realized he was trapped. The conspiracy was already moving, and he might be the only human who knew what was coming. On New Busan, Hyejin was seeing more signs of trouble. Her security team reported strange energy readings from the space around their planet. Ships that appeared on sensors for a few minutes, then vanished. Someone was watching the colony, studying their defenses. Daeho, she called to her assistant. Send a message to the nearest military base. Tell them we need protection. I tried, Daeho replied, looking worried. The communication array is down. We can't reach anyone off-planet. At that moment, alarms began ringing throughout the colony. Red lights flashed in every building. The emergency broadcast system activated with a voice Hyejin had hoped never to hear. All citizens report to emergency shelters immediately. Unknown vessels are approaching the planet. This is not a drill. Through her office window, Hyejin could see ships dropping out of hyperspace. Not human ships. Alien warships moving in attack formation toward her peaceful colony. The conspiracy had begun. Far away, in his secret meeting room, Velthar received a message that made him laugh, with triumph. Phase 2 is beginning ahead of schedule, he announced to his fellow conspirators. Our forces are in position. The human colonies are isolated. Soon, the galaxy will see the truth about human weakness. But none of them noticed the small probe that had been watching their meeting. A probe that belonged to Ji-hoon Choi. A probe that had recorded every word they said. Even as the conspiracy moved forward, the truth was being preserved. The question was whether anyone would live long enough to share it. Min-ho Kang checked his cargo manifest one last time before leaving port. His freighter, the Soul's Pride, was loaded with medical supplies and farming equipment bound for the outer colonies. It was a routine run, the kind he had done 100 times before. All systems green, Captain, reported his co-pilot, a cheerful young woman named Bora. We're cleared for departure. Good, Min-ho said, settling into his pilot's seat. Let's go help some colonists grow food. The Soul's Pride joined a convoy of 12 other human cargo ships. They were escorted by 2 small patrol vessels, just enough protection to discourage pirates. It was a peaceful mission to peaceful worlds. None of them knew they were flying into a trap. Yoon-young Park, daughter of diplomat Kyung-ho Park, was traveling on one of the convoy ships. She was a journalist documenting life on the frontier colonies for her news agency. At 26, she was eager to prove herself and make her father proud. This will be a great story, she told her camera as she recorded a log entry, showing how human colonies and alien settlements work together in the outer systems. A perfect example of galactic cooperation. Her camera captured her smile, her excitement, her hope for the future. It would be the last happy moment recorded on her device. Captain Dal-Soo Yoon commanded one of the escort ships, the Guardian. He was an experienced military officer who had served on the frontier for 15 years. His job was to make sure the cargo convoy reached its destination safely. Sir, his sensor officer called out, I'm picking up some strange readings ahead. Multiple contacts, but they're not responding to identification requests. Dal-Soo frowned. Pirates. Too big to be pirates, sir, and too organized. These look like military formations. Before Dal-Soo could respond, space around the convoy exploded with light and violence. Ships dropped out of hyperspace on all sides. Not human ships. Alien warships from multiple species, all bearing false identification markers. They opened fire immediately, targeting the cargo vessels. All ships, evasive action, Dal-Soo shouted into his communication system. We're under attack. But it was too late. The ambush was perfect. The attackers had positioned themselves to catch the convoy in a killing box. There was nowhere to run. The Soul's Pride took a direct hit to its engines. Min-ho fought to control his dying ship as alarms screamed around him. "Bora, get to the escape pods," he yelled. "What about you? Someone has to send a distress signal. Go!" But the communication systems were jammed. No signal could get through. The attackers had planned for everything. One by one, the cargo ships were destroyed. Minho watched other vessels die on his sensors, each one carrying supplies meant to help colonists build new lives. Each explosion was a tragedy that made no sense. "Why are they doing this?" Bora asked as their ship shook from another impact. Minho had no answer. The attacking ships were using alien weapons, but something felt wrong. The attack patterns, the coordination, the technology. It didn't match what he knew about typical alien military tactics. On the news ship, Yun Young had grabbed her camera and was recording everything. Even as her vessel took damage, even as people screamed around her, she kept filming. "This is Yun Young Park reporting from Convoy Vessel Newsrunner," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We are under attack by unknown alien forces. I repeat, human civilian ships are being attacked without provocation." Her camera captured the attacking ships through her porthole. She zoomed in on their markings, their weapons, their formation. Evidence that might prove vital if anyone survived to see it. An explosion threw her against the wall. The camera flew from her hands and skittered across the floor, still recording. Through its lens, it captured her crawling toward the escape pod bay, blood running down her face. Captain Dalsu's escort ship was outnumbered 20-1, but he kept fighting. His small weapons couldn't do much damage to the enemy warships, but he could be a distraction. Maybe some of the cargo ships could escape. "Sir, we're taking heavy damage," his weapons officer reported. "Shields are failing. Keep firing. Every second we buy them is worth it." But even as he fought, Dalsu was recording everything. His ship's sensors captured the energy signatures of the attacking vessels, their communication frequencies, their tactical patterns, data that might reveal who was really behind this attack. Because despite their alien appearance, something about these ships bothered him. Their movements were too coordinated. Their technology was a mixture of different species equipment. As if someone had deliberately built a fake fleet to disguise their true identity. The Guardian's final missile found its target, badly damaging one of the attacking ships. As it spun away, leaking atmosphere, Dalsu got a clear sensor reading of its internal structure. His blood ran cold. "Impossible," he whispered. The ship's internal layout was all wrong. It looked like an alien vessel from outside, but inside, it was built like a Zephyrian transport. Someone had disguised Zephyrian ships to look like a different species warships. Before he could investigate further, a massive explosion tore through the Guardian's hull. Dalsu had just enough time to activate the emergency data beacon before his ship broke apart. The beacon shot away into hyperspace, carrying the sensor recordings and Dalsu's final message. "This is Captain Dalsu Yun of the Guardian. The attack on Convoy 77 was a false flag operation. The attacking ships are disguised Zephyrian and Korthak vessels. Someone is trying to frame another species for this atrocity. Do not trust the evidence they will provide. Repeat, do not trust." The transmission cut off as the beacon jumped to hyperspace, racing toward the nearest human base, but it would arrive too late. Within hours of the attack, evidence began appearing throughout the galaxy. Security recordings that showed human military officers planning the convoy's destruction. Financial records that proved humans were eliminating alien competition. Witness testimonies from survivors who swore they saw human ships attacking the convoy. All of it false. All of it carefully prepared by Velthar's conspiracy. The fake evidence was so well crafted that even humans began to doubt themselves. The recordings looked real. The documents seemed authentic. The witnesses were convincing. Supreme Chancellor Gorth called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the Great Chamber, all talking angrily about human betrayal. Kyung-ho Park stood before them, trying to defend his species against accusations he knew were lies. But the evidence against humans seemed overwhelming. "How can you explain this?" Chancellor Gorth asked, displaying the fake recordings for all to see. "Your own military officers planning to destroy innocent cargo ships." "The recordings are false," Kyung-ho said firmly. "I know these officers. They would never do such things. Then how do you explain the witness testimony? The financial records? The physical evidence found at the attack site? Kyung-ho had no good answers. The conspiracy had been planned too well. Every piece of fake evidence supported the others, creating a web of lies that seemed like truth. Ambassador Velthar stood up, his tentacles trembling with fake emotion. For 300 years we trusted the humans. We believed they were our friends, our protectors. But now we see the truth. They have been planning this all along, using their position in the council to eliminate anyone who might challenge them. Cheers erupted from the alien representatives. Finally, someone was speaking the truth they had suspected for years. I call for an immediate vote, Velthar continued. The human species must be expelled from the Galactic Council and removed from all positions of authority. Their colonies must be placed under protective custody to prevent further violence. You cannot be serious, Kyung-ho said. You would condemn an entire species based on fabricated evidence? The evidence speaks for itself, Chancellor Gorth replied sadly. I'm sorry, Kyung-ho. You have been a good friend of the galaxy, but your species has broken the trust we placed in them. The vote was called. One by one, the species representatives stood to cast their ballots. Some looked sad, some looked angry, but all of them voted the same way. Guilty. The final tally was overwhelming. Only 3 species voted to give humans another chance. Everyone else demanded immediate action. By the authority of the Galactic Council, Chancellor Gorth announced, humanity is hereby expelled from this body and declared a threat to galactic peace. All human colonies are ordered to surrender to Council authority. Any resistance will be met with military force. As Council security moved to arrest the human diplomats, Kyung-ho looked directly at Velthar. The Zephyrian's eyes showed no guilt, no doubt, only triumph. You have made a terrible mistake, Kyung-ho said quietly. All of you. The only mistake was trusting humans in the first place, Velthar replied. But far away, in the deep archives, old Thexmore was working frantically at his computer. The emergency data beacon from the Guardian had finally arrived, and he was the only one who had bothered to examine its contents. What he found there made his old heart race with terror. The attack had been a setup, the evidence was fake, and the galaxy had just declared war on the most dangerous species in known space. His trembling fingers activated an ancient emergency protocol that had not been used for 3 centuries. A signal that would reach places in deep space where no one was supposed to know humans existed. Admiral Dong-Hyun Lee was drinking tea in his quiet office when the alarms began to sound. The ancient signal had not been heard for over 300 years, but every human military officer knew what it meant. Protocol Omega was active. Dong-Hyun set down his cup with steady hands and walked to his command center. Around him, his crew moved with practiced efficiency, activating systems that had been dormant for generations. Sir, reported his communications officer, a young woman named Yu Jin. We're receiving confirmation signals from all sectors. Every sleeper fleet is responding. How many ships do we have operational? Current count is 2,400,000 vessels, sir. More are coming online every minute. Dong-Hyun nodded. The number was smaller than it had been in the old days, but it would be enough. More than enough. Send the awakening signal to all units. Phase 1 authorization confirmed. Throughout human space, hidden bases that had appeared to be research stations or mining facilities began to change. Massive doors opened in asteroid belts, revealing warships that had been waiting in the darkness. Space stations that civilians thought were for scientific research dropped their disguises, showing weapons that could crack planets. On the frontier world of New Busan, Dr. Su Jin-oh received an encrypted message on her personal communicator. She had been living as a colony doctor for 20 years. The aliens who had attacked her world thought she was just another frightened civilian. They were very wrong. Attention all medical staff, she announced over the colony's communication system. Report to Emergency Station Alpha immediately. We have work to do. The medical staff who responded were not doctors. They were members of the Iron Wolves, humanity's most elite military unit. For 20 years, they had pretended to be ordinary colonists, farmers, teachers, and shopkeepers. Now their real mission was beginning. Colonel Wanshik Han had been running a small restaurant in the colony's main town. His specialty was kimchi soup. The alien soldiers who occupied the colony often came to his restaurant, praising his cooking and treating him like a harmless old man. They never noticed that his kitchen had been built over an armory containing enough weapons to outfit a small army. "Gentlemen," Wanshik said to his team as they gathered in his basement, "it's time to remind the galaxy why they used to fear us." The Iron Wolves armed themselves with weapons that looked like nothing the galaxy had seen in 3 centuries. Human military technology had not stopped advancing during the years of peace. It had just been hidden. Young-Soo Lee, who had been masquerading as a cargo pilot, walked to his ship in the colony's spaceport. The aliens guarding it barely glanced at him. Just another human collaborator, trying to make the best of a bad situation. They did not see him activate the hidden systems that transformed his ordinary cargo hauler into something else entirely. The hull plates shifted, revealing weapons that could destroy a battleship. The engines reconfigured themselves, providing power that defied every known law of physics. Within minutes, Young-Soo's cargo ship had become the most dangerous weapon in the star system. Back in deep space, Admiral Dong Hyun was receiving reports that filled him with both pride and sadness. Pride in how well his people had hidden their true strength. Sadness that they were going to have to use it. "Sir," Yujin reported, "intelligence confirms that the convoy attack was a false flag operation. The evidence against us was fabricated by Ambassador Velthar and his conspiracy." "Any survivors from the convoy?" "A few, sir, including Eun-young Park. She managed to record video evidence of the real attack. Her testimony could clear our name." Dong-hyun shook his head. "It won't matter now. The council has already voted. The die is cast." He brought up a holographic display of the galaxy. Red dots showed council fleets moving toward human colonies. Blue dots showed the human defensive positions that the council knew about. But there were other dots on the map. Green dots that represented humanity's true military strength. The council fleets were sailing into an ocean they thought was shallow. They were about to discover it was deeper than they could possibly imagine. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "we're receiving a message from Elder Zakthul on the council station. He says it's urgent." The holographic image of an ancient, spider-like creature appeared before Dong-hyun. Zakthul was one of the few beings in the galaxy old enough to remember the last time humans went to war. "Admiral," Zakthul said, his voice shaking with fear, "you must stop this madness. The younger species don't know what they've done. They think humans are weak because you chose to be peaceful." "We did choose peace," Dong-hyun replied calmly. "For 300 years we chose to be gentle. We chose to be protectors instead of conquerors. We chose to solve problems with words instead of weapons." "Then choose it again. Please, show mercy." Dong-hyun's expression hardened. "We showed mercy when we stopped the hegemony war before it could spread. We showed mercy when we prevented the trade wars from destroying the economy. We showed mercy every day for 3 centuries. And how were we repaid?" The display changed to show footage from the convoy attack. Human civilian ships burning. Cargo vessels full of medical supplies exploding. Peaceful traders dying in space. "They accused us of planning genocide," Dong-hyun continued. "So we will show them what genocide really looks like. Not the destruction of planets or the murder of civilians, but the complete elimination of their capacity to threaten anyone ever again." Zakthul made a sound like weeping. "The young ones don't understand. They never heard the real stories. They don't know about the Draktar Empire." "Tell me about the Draktar," Dong-hyun said quietly. "They were the strongest military power in the galaxy before humans arrived. 30 star systems under their control. Fleets that numbered in the hundreds of thousands. They thought they were unbeatable. What happened to them? They made the mistake of attacking a human colony. Just one small settlement on a frontier world. 43 days later, the Draktar Empire ceased to exist. Every ship destroyed, every military base eliminated, every government leader captured. They never fired another shot at a human target." Donghyun nodded. And that is why the old rule existed. Not because we were evil, but because we were thorough. Please, Zakthul begged. The Zephyrians, the Korthak, the Hivari, they are not bad people. They were tricked by Velthar's lies. They don't deserve to be destroyed. They won't be destroyed, Donghyun assured him. But they will be educated. The galaxy needs to remember why the old rule existed, and they will remember, because we are going to teach them. He cut the connection and turned to his fleet commanders. Attention all units, he announced. This is Admiral Dong-Hyun Lee, Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces. Operation Remember Why is now active. Rules of engagement are as follows. No civilian targets, no unnecessary destruction of infrastructure. But any military unit that threatens a human life or human colony is to be eliminated immediately and completely. Throughout human space, the hidden fleets began to move. Ships that had been sleeping in the dark between the stars powered up their engines and set course for alien worlds. Not to conquer, but to remind. On New Busan, the Iron Wolves struck without warning. The alien occupation force that had taken the colony numbered 10,000 soldiers. They had modern weapons, advanced armor, and complete confidence in their superiority. They lasted exactly 14 minutes. Colonel Won-Shik Han led the assault personally, moving through the enemy positions like death itself. The aliens had spent decades preparing to fight humans they thought were weak. They had no defense against humans who had never forgotten how to be strong. When the battle ended, the alien soldiers who survived were in shock. They had been defeated, so quickly and completely that they barely understood what had happened. Send a message to their commanders, Won-Shik ordered. Tell them that New Busan has been liberated. Tell them that the Iron Wolves are hunting again. And tell them that this is just the beginning. Young Su's ship rose from the colony spaceport like an avenging angel. The alien fleet in orbit had been preparing to bombard the settlement below. Instead, they found themselves facing a single, human vessel that seemed to defy all logic. The first alien battleship that fired at him simply disappeared. One moment it was there, the next it was expanding gas and scattered particles. This is Young Su Lee of the Human Defense Forces, he broadcast on all frequencies. You have 30 seconds to surrender or withdraw. This is your only warning. The alien fleet commander laughed at the threat. One ship against 30? The human must be insane. 29 seconds later, he stopped laughing. Young Su's ship moved like liquid light, dancing between enemy weapons that couldn't track something so fast and agile. His return fire was precise, efficient, and devastating. Each shot disabled or destroyed an enemy vessel. Within 5 minutes, the entire alien fleet was either destroyed or fleeing toward the edge of the system. This is Young Su Lee, he broadcast again. New Busan is under human protection. Any attempt to attack this world or its people will be met with immediate and overwhelming force. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on hundreds of worlds. Human colonies that had surrendered without a fight suddenly revealed that their surrender had been a lie. Hidden weapons came online. Disguised soldiers revealed. Fleet Admiral Insu Park stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship, the Remembrance. Through the vast windows she could see a sight that no alien had witnessed for 3 centuries. The full might of the human war fleet assembled for battle. 2.5 million ships stretched across space like a metal ocean, battleships the size of cities, carriers that could launch 10,000 fighters, destroyers that moved like starving wolves. This was not the small, peaceful fleet that the galaxy knew about. This was humanity's true face. Admiral, reported, her communications officer, a veteran named Hyun Woo. We're receiving surrender requests from 17 star systems. The Korthak government is asking for immediate ceasefire negotiations. Too late for negotiations, Insu replied calmly. They had their chance for peace. They chose war instead. She activated the fleet-wide communication system. All units, this is Fleet Admiral Insu Park. Operation Remember Why is proceeding as planned. Phase 2 objectives are now active. Show them what real military power looks like. On the surface of Zephyria Prime, Ambassador Velthar watched in horror as human ships darkened the sky above his homeworld. He had started this war believing that humans were weak, that their peaceful nature was a sign of cowardice. Now he realized the truth too late. The human fleet was not attacking the planet's cities or civilian population. Instead, they were systematically destroying every military installation, every government building, every symbol of Zephyrian power. The strikes were so precise that they could take out a single room in a building without harming anyone in the rooms next to it. "Sir," his aide whispered, trembling with fear, "they're demanding your surrender, personal surrender. They want you specifically." Velthar's tentacles writhed with panic. "What do they plan to do with me?" "They didn't say, sir. They just said that you have 1 hour to turn yourself in, or they will come get you themselves." General Haewon Kim led the ground assault on Korthik Major. Her troops moved through the enemy's defensive lines like a force of nature. The Korthik had built fortifications that they believed were impregnable, walls that could stop any known weapon, shields that could deflect any attack. They had never seen human military technology unleashed without restraint. Haewon's soldiers used weapons that could cut through solid rock like paper. Their armor made them faster and stronger than any organic creature. Their tactics had been perfected through centuries of warfare against opponents across the galaxy. "This is General Haewon Kim," she broadcast to the defenders. "Lay down your weapons and surrender. You cannot win this fight. Your leaders lied to you about human capabilities. Don't die for their lies." Most of the Korthak soldiers were smart, enough to surrender. Those who kept fighting discovered why humans had once been the most feared warriors in the galaxy. In the space around Hivari Central, Captain Young-Soo Lee demonstrated the true capabilities of human starship technology. The Hivari had gathered their entire fleet to defend their homeworld, over 50,000 ships representing the accumulated military power of their species. Young-Soo faced them alone in his single vessel. The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it ended, the Hivari fleet was nothing but wreckage drifting in space. Young-Soo's ship hung motionless among the debris, its hull unmarked by enemy fire. "This is Captain Young-Soo Lee to Hivari Central Command," he broadcast. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your orbital defenses are gone, but your planet is unharmed and your people are alive. This is what mercy looks like when humans choose to show it. Remember this moment the next time someone tells you that humans are your enemies." Back on the council station, Supreme Chancellor Gorth watched reports flooding in from across the galaxy. Every species that had participated in the conspiracy was being systematically defeated. Not conquered, not destroyed, but defeated so completely that their capacity to make war was being eliminated. "How many ships do they have?" he asked his military advisor. "Conservative estimates suggest over 2 million combat vessels, sir." "But that can't be right. Our intelligence said they only had a few hundred ships." "Our intelligence was wrong about everything," Gorth said sadly. "How could we have been so blind?" The answer came from Thexmore, who had finally been allowed to address the emergency council session. "Because you wanted to be blind," the ancient creature said. "The humans spent 300 years showing you only what they wanted you to see. They let you believe they were weak because it served the cause of peace, but they never stopped being what they always were." "What are they?" Gorth asked. "The most successful predator species in galactic history, the only race that has never lost a war. The people who conquered their own homeworld and then decided to use their skills to protect others instead of destroying them." Thexmore activated a holographic display showing the current state of the war. Red zones marked areas where alien fleets had been destroyed. Blue zones showed human forces in complete control. "Look at the pattern," he continued. "They are not attacking randomly. Every strike is calculated to achieve maximum strategic effect with minimum civilian casualties. They are dismantling your military capabilities the way a surgeon removes a tumor. Carefully, precisely, thoroughly." "What do they want?" Gorth whispered. "What they always wanted. Peace. But now it will be peace on their terms." The council session was interrupted by the arrival of Kyung-Ho Park. The human diplomat, who had been under arrest, walked into the chamber flanked by human soldiers in armor that seemed to bend light around them. "Chancellor Gorth," Kyung-Ho said politely. I believe we need to discuss terms. Terms? You mean surrender terms? No, Kyung-ho replied. I mean the terms under which humanity will be willing to stop what we started. Because make no mistake, we will stop it when we choose to stop it, not when you ask us to. He activated his own holographic display, showing the true scope of human military power. The aliens in the chamber gasped as they saw fleets hidden in dark space, weapons platforms disguised as asteroids, battle stations that had been masquerading as civilian installations. For 300 years, Kyung-ho continued, we have been the galaxy's peacekeepers. We mediated your disputes, stopped your wars, and protected your civilians. We did this not because we were weak, but because we were strong enough to choose mercy over victory. Then why didn't you tell us? Gorth asked. Would you have listened? Or would you have seen our strength as a threat to be eliminated? Kyung-ho's expression was sad but firm. The conspiracy proves my point. The moment some of you thought humans were vulnerable, you tried to destroy us. Images appeared on the display showing the fake evidence, the planned attacks, the secret meetings where aliens had plotted humanity's downfall. Ambassador Velthar and his allies broke the oldest rule in the galaxy, Kyung-ho said. Not because they were evil, but because they forgot why the rule existed in the first place. What happens now? Gorth asked quietly. Now you remember, Kyung-ho replied. Every species that participated in this conspiracy will surrender their military forces. Every government that supported the attacks will be restructured under human oversight. Every leader who knew about the plot will face judgment. And if we refuse? Kyung-ho gestured to the display, where human fleets continued their methodical advance across alien space. Then you will learn what happened to the Draktar Empire. The choice is yours. One by one, the alien representatives stood to announce their surrender. The Korthak, the Hivari, the Mining Guild, the Trade Federation, all of them accepted human terms rather than face complete military defeat. Only Velthar's homeworld held out, hoping that their defensive systems could protect them. They were wrong. Fleet Admiral Insu led the final assault personally. The Zephyrian homeworld's defenses were impressive by galactic standards. Orbital stations with enough firepower to crack moons, planetary shields that could stop asteroid impacts, armies that had never known defeat. The human fleet swept them aside like children's toys. This is Fleet Admiral Insu Park, she broadcast to the planet's surface. Velthar, you started a war based on lies and hatred. Your people are paying the price for your ambition. Surrender now, and we will show mercy. Continue to resist, and we will show you why the galaxy feared us. Velthar's response came from his bunker deep beneath the planet's surface. I will never surrender to humans. We will fight to the last Zephyrian. Insu's reply was calm and final. Very well, but understand that you are not fighting for your people's freedom. You are fighting for your own pride, and that pride is about to cost you everything. The siege of Zephyria Prime lasted exactly 6 hours. When it ended, every military installation on the planet had been destroyed. Every government building had been leveled. Every symbol of Zephyrian power had been erased. But the cities were untouched. The civilians were unharmed. The hospitals and schools and homes remained intact. In the ruins of his command bunker, Velthar finally understood what he had unleashed. The humans had not come to conquer or destroy. They had come to teach a lesson that would never be forgotten. This is Admiral Insu Park to all surviving Zephyrian forces, came the broadcast. Your war is over. Your leaders who planned this conspiracy are now prisoners. Your people are free to rebuild their society under human protection, and they will remember why the oldest rule in the galaxy exists.